English speaker. So does that impact your work life, or how does that impact your work life?
I can't believe you noticed. I mean, yeah, of course, I have a strong accent, and it affects in the way, you typically have to make a bigger effort than when I speak in Spanish, right? So I think this is one of the main issues I would say with that. For example, I recently attended a conference, an in-person conference, for the first time since the pandemic started, right? And every day at the end of the day, I finished like really exhausted because I spent the whole day speaking in English and listening to English all the day. So I think it's more exhausting in this sense, right? It's like it requires more effort from your side than when you speak in your native language, right? And many times I find myself trying to explain something, and I have to remember a specific word that I cannot remember, so I have to find a workaround to explain the same concept with other words, right? So, but I think there is I can communicate, I can understand. Sometimes I need other people to be more patient with me. But apart from that, I think, especially here, at least in my experience here in California, people are very used to working with different people from different parts of the world. So people typically are very patient and friendly about that. So yeah, what's your experience about that, by the way?
I mean, we do have something similar, right? I actually feel that Spanish, I think that's your mother tongue, right? Like that's your language, is very similar to the languages we have in India, especially Hindi. I find the diction very similar. Like, my name is not Shruti, as people would call it in the US. It's Shruti. So I think the part is there uh, in Spanish, right? And I'm not sure if calling you Federico is right, because I think it should be called something like a Federico or something like that, but I'm not sure if that's
Federico. Federico is the way I would pronounce it in Spanish. And
right.
regarding and my last name is Toledo, which I think is the same thing that you are mentioning about the shruti, right?
Yes, exactly. So I think Tomatina, no, I don't think so. You call it Tomatina. Again, there has to be something different way of pronunciation. So the diction between Spanish and Hindi is very very similar. And I feel in India we have so many languages, right? It's a culture, it's a place which is so diverse, and we have so many of our regional languages that I remember one of my friends. Telling to us once that we first think in our native language, then we translate it into English, and then we speak. So it's like, burning your motherboard even more. And I remember there's this comedian or celebrity, Sophia, who's actually Spanish. And I remember her saying that you need to understand, I'm so smart in Spanish. And I can feel her pain. And I think she should actually feel happy. And we all should actually feel happy that we know so many languages, which is our asset, right? Like, it's not necessary to know just these languages, which is great, but sometimes it's so important to know these languages as well. Otherwise, how do we communicate? And people like yourself, who understand a lot many languages, we should be very proud of ourselves.